What if the difference between the afternoon exhaustion that keeps pulling you toward another cup of coffee, the muscle tension that follows you into the evening, and that restless feeling when your body should be winding down isn't another complicated supplement routine, but something much simpler, sitting right inside your kitchen? Magnesium is essential. It is involved in hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout the body, including processes connected with muscle function, nerve signaling, energy production, and normal blood sugar regulation. But despite the attention magnesium gets online, it is not an instant switch that flips every symptom off. Your body doesn't need a miracle. It needs a consistent supply of the nutrients it uses every day. And today, we're turning that idea into something you can actually eat. Because hidden inside ordinary foods like pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews, chia seeds, spinach, chickpeas, whole grains, avocado, cacao, and beans are meaningful amounts of magnesium, along with fiber, healthy fats, protein, potassium, and other nutrients that work alongside it. And we're not talking about complicated recipes that require a completely different lifestyle. We're talking about crunchy chocolate clusters, roasted pumpkin seeds, banana bites, trail mix, chia pudding, avocado toast, warm oatmeal, crispy chickpeas, spinach muffins, hummus, cacao pudding, stuffed dates, and one final combination that brings several of the strongest magnesium-containing foods in this entire list together. Keep an eye on number 4, because it combines two foods with a surprisingly long history of traveling across cultures and continents. And number 17 is especially interesting because it involves a food category that has spent years being misunderstood, even though the mineral-rich parts of grain are exactly what modern refining often removes. By the time we reach number 20, you'll have a practical framework for thinking about magnesium-rich snacks differently, not as isolated miracle foods, but as combinations you can actually repeat throughout the week. That's exactly the kind of practical, food-first nutrition we explore here at Healthy Roots. So if that sounds like your kind of content, take a moment to subscribe, because instead of asking which supplement you should take next, there's a more useful question to ask. What if some of the foods already sitting in your pantry could become part of your magnesium strategy? Stay with me, because we're going through 20 options, from simple 2-minute bites to snacks you can prepare once and keep ready for the entire week. Let's get into number 1. Number 1. Dark chocolate pumpkin seed clusters. The ancient pairing rediscovered. Cacao and pumpkin seeds come from very different corners of the world, but both have long histories as valued foods. Cacao was treasured by Mesoamerican cultures and used in ceremonial and cultural settings long before modern nutrition science gave us a way to describe its mineral content. Pumpkin seeds, meanwhile, were an important traditional food across parts of Mesoamerica, where they were eaten in different forms and incorporated into pastes, sauces, and everyday dishes. Neither culture needed a nutrition label to understand that these foods were concentrated sources of nourishment. Today, we can look at the composition more closely. Pumpkin seeds are particularly notable among everyday snack foods because they contain a substantial amount of magnesium in a relatively small serving. Cacao, especially higher cocoa dark chocolate and less processed cacao products, can also contribute magnesium. Put the two together and you have a snack that combines magnesium with fat, fiber, plant compounds, and a flavor profile that feels much more like dessert than a conventional healthy snack. That distinction matters. A nutritious food is only useful if you actually want to eat it. For this one, melt dark chocolate with a high cocoa percentage gently over low heat. You don't need to boil it or cook it aggressively. The goal is simply to soften the chocolate until it becomes smooth. Then stir in a generous handful of pumpkin seeds. Spread the mixture thinly over parchment paper. Refrigerate it until firm. Once it sets, break it into small clusters. The result is crunchy, slightly bitter, lightly sweet, and packed with a contrast between creamy chocolate and toasted seeds. You can also lightly toast the pumpkin seeds first. That brings out their flavor and gives the finished clusters more crunch. One useful habit is to prepare the entire batch at once and store the pieces in an airtight container in the refrigerator. That changes the snack from something you might make once into something you can actually reach for during the week. And that's a theme we're going to return to again and again. The goal isn't to find one food that supposedly fixes everything. The goal is to make nutrient-dense choices easier to repeat. Magnesium itself participates in numerous processes involving nerves, muscles, energy production, and enzymes. The body does not use it as a standalone ingredient. It works as part of a larger nutritional system. That's one reason whole foods can be so useful. Instead of isolating magnesium, you're getting magnesium alongside other nutrients naturally present in the food. And when you combine pumpkin seed with cacao, you're creating a small snack that is both concentrated and enjoyable. If you're someone who reaches for sweets in the afternoon, this can be a more nutrient-dense direction to explore. Just remember that dark chocolate is still calorie dense, so a small portion is enough. The point is not to eat an entire tray because the ingredients are nutritious. The point is to replace a less nutrient-dense snack with a combination that brings more to the table. And that brings us to number 2, which is even simpler. Number 2, sea-salted roasted pumpkin seeds, the single richest common snack source. If you remember only one food from this entire list, make it pumpkin seeds. Also known as pepitas, pumpkin seeds are among the most concentrated magnesium-containing snack foods commonly available. A relatively small serving can make a meaningful contribution toward daily magnesium intake. And this is one of those foods where simplicity is actually an advantage. You don't need to turn it into a complicated recipe. You don't need a blender. You don't need special equipment. You don't need a long ingredient list. You need pumpkin seeds, a little olive oil, and a pinch of salt. Spread the seeds across a baking tray. Add a small drizzle of olive oil. Sprinkle with sea salt. Then roast them until they're lightly golden and fragrant. The original method uses around 300 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. The important thing is to watch them because seeds can move from perfectly toasted to overly browned relatively quickly. Once they cool, keep them in a jar or airtight container. Now you have something that can sit where you can see it. That visual cue matters more than people realize. If the only convenient food in your kitchen is a packaged snack, that's probably what you'll reach for when you're hungry. But if roasted pumpkin seeds are already prepared and sitting in front of you, they're much easier to incorporate into your routine. Pumpkin seeds also provide more than magnesium. They contain protein, healthy fats, and other minerals. That makes them useful as a standalone snack, but they can also be added to meals. Sprinkle them over oatmeal. Add them to yogurt. Put them on avocado toast. Toss them into salads. Mix them into trail mix. Or simply eat a small handful. The reason magnesium matters so much is that the mineral participates in hundreds of enzymatic reactions. Those reactions are involved in energy metabolism, nerve signaling, muscle contraction and relaxation, and other physiological processes. This doesn't mean eating pumpkin seeds produces an immediate therapeutic effect. It means that foods containing magnesium can contribute to the dietary intake your body needs to carry out those normal functions. That distinction is important. Food works through consistency. And pumpkin seeds are particularly easy to make consistent because they require almost no preparation. A useful approach is to portion them into small containers instead of eating directly from a large bag. That gives you a defined serving and makes the snack easier to fit into your normal eating pattern. You can also experiment with seasonings. Try black pepper. Try smoked paprika. Try garlic powder. Try cinnamon for a completely different direction. Or keep them simply salted. The basic ingredient remains the same. And if you're looking for one pantry staple to begin increasing your intake of magnesium-rich foods, pumpkin seeds are one of the easiest places to start. But number 3 shows why pairing foods can sometimes be more interesting than focusing on one mineral-rich ingredient. Number 3, almond butter banana bites. The potassium-magnesium partnership. Bananas are usually associated with potassium. Almonds are more commonly associated with healthy fats, protein, and minerals. Put them together and you get a snack that combines 2 important electrolytes with fiber and satisfying fat. Magnesium and potassium both contribute to normal muscle and nerve function. The body uses electrolytes to help regulate electrical activity across cells, including the signals involved in muscle contraction and normal heart function. That's why the combination is more interesting than either ingredient by itself. Start with a banana. Slice it into rounds. Add a small spoonful of almond butter to each piece. Then sprinkle chia seeds over the top. That's it. You can make the entire snack in a couple of minutes. The banana provides natural sweetness and potassium. The almond butter contributes magnesium, fat, protein, and additional nutrients. The chia seeds bring another source of magnesium, fiber, and plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. So what looks like a very simple snack actually contains several nutritional layers. This is also an easy option for families because the flavor is familiar. There is no strong vegetable taste. There is no complicated preparation, and there is no need to convince someone that they are eating health food. They're simply eating banana, almond butter, and chia. You can make these bites in the morning and eat them shortly afterward, or prepare a plate when you're looking for something sweet but more substantial than fruit alone. Another option is to freeze the banana slices first. That gives the snack a colder, almost dessert-like texture. You can also use natural almond butter without added sugar. The combination of banana and almond butter is particularly useful because fat and protein can make fruit feel more substantial and may slow digestion compared with eating the fruit alone. Again, the goal is an instant effect. The goal is a snack that provides useful nutrients while helping you stay satisfied. And if you're trying to build a magnesium-focused food routine, combining ingredients is one of the easiest ways to make it enjoyable. Because you don't need to sit down and think, how am I going to eat more magnesium today? You can simply think, what can I pair together? Pumpkin seeds with cacao, banana with almond butter, oats with chia, avocado with whole grains, chickpeas with pumpkin seeds. Those combinations are much easier to remember. And now we reach number 4, the combination mentioned earlier. Number 4, dark chocolate covered almonds, the trade route treasure. There's something fascinating about the history of food. Long before nutritional databases existed, people had already figured out which foods travel well, which foods kept their energy up, and which combinations were worth carrying over long distances. Almonds were transported through ancient trade networks across regions, including the Mediterranean and Central Asia. Cacao followed a very different historical path, originating in Mesoamerica before becoming part of global trade. Eventually, these two ingredients found each other in modern confectionery, and nutritionally, the pairing makes sense. Almonds contribute magnesium, fiber, protein, and healthy fats. Dark chocolate can contribute magnesium and cacao-derived plant compounds. The fat and fiber in almonds also make the overall snack more substantial than chocolate alone. This is where portion size becomes important. A handful of chocolate-covered almonds can be satisfying, but it is easy to keep eating them because they taste good, so prepare them in small portions. Melt high cocoa dark chocolate. Add roasted or raw almonds. Coat them, then allow them to set on parchment paper. Once firm, place them into small containers. Now you have a portable snack that doesn't require refrigeration for a short period, depending on the chocolate and storage conditions. The combination also illustrates a broader principle. A food can be enjoyable and nutritious at the same time. You don't have to separate those concepts. When people think about magnesium-rich foods, they often imagine plain seeds, steamed greens, or supplements. But cacao and almonds show that a nutrient-focused snack can also feel indulgent. The important thing is to keep the ingredient quality and portion size in perspective. Choose dark chocolate with a high cocoa percentage if you enjoy the flavor. Choose almonds without excessive added sugar or heavily processed coatings. And treat the combination as a snack, not as something you need to eat endlessly. Magnesium is involved in normal glucose metabolism and insulin signaling, which is one reason adequate dietary magnesium has been studied in relation to metabolic health. Almonds themselves have also been investigated in dietary patterns associated with metabolic health. But again, one snack does not determine your metabolic health. Your overall diet, activity, sleep, stress, and individual circumstances all matter. What this snack can do is make one part of a nutrient-dense eating pattern easier. And sometimes that is the most practical goal. Because the best food strategy is not necessarily the one that looks perfect on paper. It's the one you can actually follow. Number 5. Cashew and dried apricot trail mix. The sweet and mineral balance. Cashews don't always receive as much attention as pumpkin seeds or almonds when people talk about magnesium, but they deserve a place in conversation. Cashews provide magnesium along with other minerals, including copper and iron. Dried apricots contribute potassium, fiber, and smaller amounts of magnesium while providing natural sweetness. Together, they create a classic sweet and savory trail mix combination. And there's a reason dried fruit and nuts have appeared in travel foods for generations. They're portable, they're shelf-stable, they're energy-dense, they don't require cooking, and they can survive long periods without refrigeration. That makes them useful far beyond nutrition theory. The basic recipe is almost embarrassingly simple. Take raw or lightly roasted cashews. Add dried apricots. Mix them in roughly equal proportions. Then portion them into small containers. If you want more magnesium, you can add pumpkin seeds. If you want more texture, add walnuts. If you want a little cacao flavor, add cacao nibs. But the basic version is already useful. One thing to watch with dried fruit is portion size. Removing water concentrates the fruit's natural sugars, so dried apricots can be easy to overeat. Pairing them with nuts changes the experience because the nuts provide fat, protein, and fiber. That creates a more balanced snack than dried fruit by itself. Look for dried apricots without unnecessary added ingredients when possible. And if you have a sensitivity to preservatives used in some dried fruits, check the label and choose a version that works for you. This is also a great snack for people who spend a lot of time away from home. Put a portion in a bag before leaving. Keep another in your desk. Store some in your kitchen. The easier it is to access, the more likely it becomes part of your routine. And that brings us to a seed that has become increasingly popular in modern nutrition conversations. Number 6. Chia seed pudding, the gel that feeds your routine. Chia seeds have a long history in Mesoamerican food traditions. They were valued as a compact source of nourishment and could be carried easily. Today, chia seeds are popular for a different reason. They're rich in fiber, contain plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, and provide magnesium along with other nutrients. But their texture is what makes them especially interesting. When chia seeds sit in liquid, they absorb it and form a gel. That gel gives chia pudding its distinctive consistency. It also changes how quickly the food moves through digestion. Instead of being a quick bite, chia pudding can become a slower digesting snack. And that's useful when you're trying to create a more consistent eating pattern. To make it, combine chia seeds with your milk of choice. A rough ratio of 1 part chia to 4 parts liquid is a useful starting point. Stir thoroughly. Let it sit for several minutes. Stir again, then refrigerate overnight. By morning, the mixture should have thickened. Top it with berries. Add sliced banana. Add a few almonds, or sprinkle pumpkin seeds on top. Now you've turned one food into a layered snack containing multiple sources of magnesium. Chia's fiber is another important part of the picture. Fiber supports digestive health and helps create a slower, more filling eating experience. And magnesium itself participates in normal nervous system function. That doesn't mean chia pudding should be described as a treatment for anxiety or sleep disorders. It means it can be part of a diet that supplies nutrients involved in those systems. That's a much more useful way to think about food. Instead of expecting a single ingredient to solve a complex problem, use nutrient-dense foods repeatedly. Prepare 3 or 4 jars at once. Keep them in the refrigerator. Now breakfast or snack is already waiting. You can also make different flavors. Cinnamon and apple, cacao and banana, berry and almond, peanut butter and chia. The possibilities are almost endless. And when you can prepare several servings at once, you're reducing the friction that often gets in the way of healthy eating. That brings us to number 7, where the ingredient combination becomes even more interesting. Number 7, avocado whole grain toast, the fat that helps build a more complete snack. Avocado is famous for its healthy fats, but also contributes magnesium, potassium, fiber, and other nutrients. Whole grains contribute another important piece. The bran and germ of a grain contain many of its nutrients, including minerals. When grains are heavily refined, some of those components are removed. That's why choosing genuinely whole grain bread can make a nutritional difference compared with refined white bread. Now add pumpkin seeds. Suddenly, you have 3 different sources of magnesium in one simple snack. Start with a slice of dense whole grain bread or sourdough. Mash half an avocado over the top. Season it with salt and pepper. Add a squeeze of lemon. Then finish with pumpkin seeds. You can stop there or add tomato. Add cucumber. Add a poached egg. Add chili flakes. Or add herbs. The important foundation is a combination. Whole grains, avocado, pumpkin seeds. This is a good example of why looking only at a single nutrient number can miss the bigger picture. The avocado provides fat and fiber. The whole grain provides complex carbohydrates and minerals. The pumpkin seeds add magnesium, protein, and healthy fats. Together, the snack is more substantial than any one ingredient alone. If you enjoy sourdough, a traditionally fermented whole grain loaf can be another option. Fermentation can alter the composition of the grain and may influence mineral availability. But the biggest practical distinction is still whether the bread is actually made from whole grains rather than simply being marketed with words like multi-grain. Check the ingredient list. If refined flour is the primary ingredient, you're not getting the same nutritional profile as a genuinely whole grain loaf. And this brings us to number 8, a snack that provides magnesium alongside a useful amount of protein. Number 8, edamame with sea salt, the whole soybean advantage. Edamame is simply young soybean harvested before the beans fully mature. It has been enjoyed across East Asian food traditions for generations and has become increasingly common around the world. What makes it useful as a snack is the combination. Edamame provides plant-based protein, fiber, and minerals, including magnesium. That means you're not simply getting a mineral, you're getting a food matrix. And that distinction matters. Magnesium participates in protein synthesis and many other cellular processes. So pairing a magnesium-containing food with protein makes nutritional sense as part of an overall diet. Edamame is also remarkably easy to prepare. Steam the pods for roughly 5 to 6 minutes. Then sprinkle with flaky sea salt. Eat the beans directly from the pods. The act of squeezing the beans out also slows you down. Instead of mindlessly eating from a bag, you're interacting with the food. That can make a simple snack feel more substantial. If you're preparing frozen edamame, follow the package instructions and make sure it's heated properly. You can also remove the beans from the pods and toss them into salads, grain bowls, or soups. But as a snack, warm salted edamame is hard to beat for simplicity. It also offers a different nutritional profile from many packaged protein snacks. Rather than relying on a highly processed bar or shake, you're eating an identifiable whole food. That doesn't make packaged foods automatically bad. It simply gives you another option. And if you've been looking for a snack that provides both protein and minerals, edamame deserves consideration. At this point, you've seen several different categories: seeds, nuts, fruit, whole grains, legumes, greens, cacao, and we're only halfway through the list. Before we continue, if you're finding these combinations useful, this is a good place to support the channel. If you've learned something from the first 8 foods, hit the like button, subscribe to Healthy Rootz, and share this video with someone who is trying to build a more nutrient-dense snack routine. We focus on practical nutrition, everyday foods, and the science behind the choices we make. Now, let's keep going, because number 9 takes several familiar ingredients and turns them into something you can prepare ahead of time. Number 9. Peanut butter oat energy bites, the blood sugar stabilizer. Rolled oats are a useful pantry staple because they contain complex carbohydrates, fiber, and magnesium. Peanut butter adds protein, fat, and additional magnesium. Chia seeds add more fiber, minerals, and plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. Put those ingredients together, and you get a compact snack that is more substantial than a sweet treat by itself. The preparation is simple. Combine rolled oats, peanut butter, chia seeds, and a small amount of honey. Mix until everything holds together. If the mixture feels too dry, add a little more peanut butter. If it feels too wet, add a few more oats. Then roll the mixture into small balls. Refrigerate them for at least 30 minutes. That's it. They can stay refrigerated for roughly a week, depending on the ingredients and storage conditions. The nutritional concept behind this snack is more important than the recipe itself. Magnesium participates in normal insulin signaling and glucose metabolism. At the same time, fiber, protein, and fat can slow digestion and make a snack more filling. So instead of eating a food made almost entirely from rapidly digested carbohydrates, you're combining several macronutrients that can create a steadier eating experience. And this is where food preparation becomes a nutritional strategy. If you know that the middle of the morning or afternoon is when you tend to reach for cookies, candy, or another highly processed snack, prepare these bites ahead of time. Then you don't have to rely on willpower. You already have an alternative. Make 10 or 12 at once. Keep them refrigerated. Take one when you need a snack. You can also customize them. Add cinnamon. Add unsweetened cacao powder. Add chopped almonds. Add pumpkin seeds. Or add shredded coconut. But keep the base simple enough that you actually want to make it again. And now we arrive at number 10, one of the most recognizable magnesium-containing vegetables on the planet. Number 10. Spinach and egg muffins. The leafy green concentrate. Spinach has long been recognized as a magnesium-containing leafy green. One reason is its chlorophyll. Magnesium sits at the center of the chlorophyll molecule that gives green plants their characteristic color. That makes leafy greens a fascinating example of how a mineral becomes part of plant biology. And when we eat those plants, we obtain some of that mineral. Pair spinach with eggs, and the snack becomes much more substantial. Eggs provide complete protein and additional nutrients. The yolk also contains fat, which helps make the overall snack more satisfying. To prepare spinach and egg muffins, start by whisking eggs. Add chopped spinach. Season with salt and pepper. You can add chopped peppers, onions, tomatoes, or other vegetables. Pour the mixture into a greased muffin tin. Bake it around 350 degrees Fahrenheit until the eggs are set, approximately 20 minutes, depending on the size of the muffins and your oven. Let them cool. Then refrigerate them in a sealed container. They can make an excellent make-ahead snack. Prepare a dozen on the weekend. Now you have something ready for several mornings. Instead of skipping breakfast or grabbing a pastry, you can take 2 egg muffins and pair them with fruit. This is another example of building a nutrient-dense snack through combinations. Spinach brings magnesium and plant compounds. Eggs bring protein. Vegetables bring fiber and additional micronutrients. And the small muffin format makes the food portable. The broader point is that leafy greens don't have to appear only as salads. You can put them into eggs, soups, smoothies, grain bowls, wraps, or savory muffins. If the problem is that you don't enjoy eating a giant bowl of spinach, change the format. Use the ingredient in a way that fits your preferences. And now we're moving into legumes. Number 11. Black bean and avocado dip, the plant-based mineral duo. Beans are among the most useful foods to keep in a nutrient-focused pantry. Black beans provide magnesium, fiber, plant protein, and other minerals. Avocado adds healthy fats, fiber, potassium, and additional magnesium. Together, they create a dip that can be used in several ways. Start with cooked black beans. Add avocado. Squeeze and fresh lime. Add cumin. Add salt. Then blend until smooth. If you prefer texture, mash rather than blend completely. Serve it with whole grain crackers. Use fresh vegetable sticks. Spread it over toast, or eat alongside roasted chickpeas. The combination is satisfying because it contains several elements at once. Protein from the beans, fiber from the beans and avocado, fat from the avocado, minerals from both ingredients, and flavor from lime and cumin. Traditional food patterns across Central and South America have long used beans, grains, vegetables, and avocado in combinations that provide a broad range of nutrients. Modern nutrition science gives us a way to quantify some of those nutrients, but the underlying food combinations are not new. One thing worth emphasizing is that gut health also matters for nutrient utilization. Dietary fiber supports the gut microbiome. Beans are particularly rich in fermentable fibers that gut bacteria can use. That doesn't mean black bean dip is a treatment for digestive problems. It simply makes beans an especially interesting food category to include regularly. And because the dip keeps well in the refrigerator for several days, it works beautifully as a batch-prepared snack. Make a large container at the beginning of the week, then portion out what you need. The flavors often become even more integrated after sitting overnight. This is a kind of recipe that makes nutrient-dense eating practical. Now let's move to number 12, where we combine dairy, nuts, and cacao. Number 12, Greek yogurt with almonds and cacao, the layer recovery snack. Plain Greek yogurt isn't the star magnesium source here. The almonds and cacao are, but yogurt brings something important to the combination: protein. It can also provide beneficial cultures depending on the product. So when you add sliced almonds and cacao nibs, the bowl becomes more nutritionally complete. Cacao nibs are especially interesting because they are less processed than many conventional chocolate products. They retain the characteristic flavor and mineral content associated with cacao, without the large amount of added sugar found in many candy products. Add a small handful of sliced almonds. Then sprinkle cacao nibs over the top. You can add berries, sliced banana, a few pumpkin seeds, or cinnamon. The result is crunchy, creamy, slightly bitter, and naturally sweet if you add fruit. Choose plain yogurt rather than heavily sweetened flavored yogurt if your goal is to keep added sugar lower. This matters because it allows the fruit and cacao to provide most of the flavor. And because the yogurt supplies protein, the snack can be more filling than fruit alone. The combination also illustrates another recurring principle. You don't have to get every nutrient from one ingredient. You can assemble a snack from several foods, each contributing something different. Yogurt gives protein. Almonds give magnesium and healthy fats. Cacao gives magnesium and plant compounds. Fruit gives fiber and natural sweetness. That's a complete snack architecture. And once you understand that structure, you can start building your own combinations. The next one is based on a traditional ingredient that has been used for thousands of years. Number 13. Tahini apple slices, the sesame secret. Tahini is made from ground sesame seeds. Sesame has a long culinary history across the Middle East and Mediterranean regions. And because sesame seeds contain meaningful amounts of magnesium, tahini offers a convenient way to consume more of the seed. The problem with eating whole sesame seeds is that they're tiny. You might sprinkle a small amount over a meal without consuming enough to make them a major part of your snack. Tahini solves that by turning the seeds into a creamy paste. Now pair it with apple. The apple provides fiber, water, and natural sweetness. The tahini provides fat, protein, and minerals. The combination is simple. Slice an apple into wedges. Drizzle tahini over the top. Add cinnamon. You can also add a tiny pinch of sea salt. The result tastes surprisingly rich. And because the tahini contains fat, and the apple contains fiber, the snack is more substantial than apple alone. If you want additional magnesium, sprinkle chia seeds or pumpkin seeds over the tahini. Now you have 3 mineral-containing ingredients in one plate. This is also a good example of how traditional ingredients can fit modern snack habits. You don't have to use tahini only in hummus or savory sauces. You can use it as a dip, drizzle it over fruit, mix it into oatmeal, add it to smoothies, or spread it over toast. When you find an ingredient you enjoy, finding multiple ways to use it increases the chance that it becomes a regular part of your diet. And that is much more valuable than buying food once because it was featured in a nutrition video. Now let's add another crunchy option. Number 14. Roasted chickpeas with pumpkin seeds. The crunchy legume upgrade. Chickpeas are a staple across Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cuisines. They provide fiber, plant protein, and magnesium. But the most interesting part of the snack is the texture. Roasting chickpeas transforms them from soft legumes into something crispy. That makes them useful when you're craving chips or crackers. Start with cooked chickpeas. Drain them thoroughly. Pat them dry. Toss them with olive oil and your preferred seasonings. Roast at around 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes, checking periodically until they're crisp. Let them cool. Then combine them with roasted pumpkin seeds. Now you have a crunchy snack that combines two magnesium-containing foods. You can season the chickpeas with smoked paprika, cumin, garlic, black pepper, chili, or a simple combination of salt and herbs. If you want sweetness, try cinnamon with a small amount of maple syrup before roasting. The important thing is to find a flavor profile you actually enjoy, because roasted chickpeas can become a replacement for highly processed crunchy snacks. Again, this isn't about labeling chips as forbidden. It's about having another option. And because chickpeas contain fiber, they can also be more filling. Pumpkin seeds add fat, protein, and additional magnesium. The result is a snack that has more nutritional complexity than a typical refined snack food. You can store roasted chickpeas in an airtight container, although they are generally best when eaten relatively fresh because moisture can soften them. If they lose their crunch, briefly reheating them can help restore texture. Now we're moving into one of the simplest foods on this entire list. Number 15. Oatmeal with almond butter. The slow-release combination. Oatmeal is often thought of as breakfast, but there's no rule saying it can't be a snack. A small bowl of oats can be particularly useful in the evening because it is warm, familiar, and easy to customize. Oats provide complex carbohydrates, fiber, and magnesium. Almond butter adds healthy fat, protein, and more magnesium. Chia seeds add another mineral-rich layer. Start with a small bowl of oatmeal. Cook the oats using your preferred method. While they're still warm, stir in a spoonful of almond butter. Then sprinkle chia seeds on top. You can add cinnamon, sliced banana, berries, a few cacao nibs, or chopped almonds. The combination is satisfying because the oats provide a soft base while the nut butter makes the texture richer. And magnesium has been studied for its relationship with sleep and nervous system function. That doesn't mean eating oatmeal before bed guarantees better sleep, but a balanced evening snack can fit naturally into a wind-down routine. If you tend to become hungry late at night, choosing something with fiber, protein, and fat may be more satisfying than reaching for a sugary snack. You can also prepare overnight oats if you prefer something cold. Mix oats, milk, chia seeds, and almond butter. Refrigerate overnight, then add fruit in the morning. The important part is the same. You're creating a repeatable combination rather than depending on one isolated ingredient. And number 16 takes the same idea and turns it into a dessert-like snack. Number 16. Dark chocolate chia bark. The mineral-dense confection. Dark chocolate already contributes magnesium. Now add chia seeds. Then add pumpkin seeds. You have 3 nutrient-dense ingredients in one snack. The preparation is similar to the pumpkin seed clusters from number 1, but this time we're adding chia for another layer of texture and fiber. Melt dark chocolate gently. Spread it thinly across parchment paper. Sprinkle chia seeds generously over the surface. Add pumpkin seeds. You can also add chopped almonds or unsweetened coconut. Then refrigerate until firm. Break it into pieces. The thinner you spread the chocolate, the more seed-dense each bite can become. This makes portion control easier because you can break the bark into small, irregular pieces. Keep it refrigerated. And when you want something sweet, take 1 piece instead of automatically reaching for a large serving of conventional candy. Again, this is not about turning chocolate into a medicine. Chocolate is still chocolate, but higher cocoa dark chocolate can be a source of magnesium and cacao-derived compounds. When combined with seeds, the nutritional profile becomes more substantial. The broader principle is worth remembering. Whole foods rarely contain only one nutrient. Pumpkin seeds contain magnesium, protein, fat, and other minerals. Chia seeds contain magnesium, fiber, and omega-3 fatty acids. Cacao contains magnesium and flavonol compounds. When you combine them, you're eating a package rather than an isolated nutrient. And that leads us directly into number 17. Number 17, whole grain crackers with hummus. The food category many people were told to avoid. Whole grains have been caught in the middle of dietary debates for years. But there is an important distinction between whole grains and refined grains. The outer layers of the grain contain much of its fiber and mineral content. When grains are refined into white flour, those layers are removed. That changes the nutritional profile. So if you're looking for magnesium-rich snack options, genuine whole grain foods deserve consideration. Pair whole grain crackers with hummus, and you have another combination of foods that contribute magnesium. Hummus is traditionally made from chickpeas, tahini, lemon, garlic, and olive oil, so the dip itself contains several nutrient-dense ingredients. The crackers add whole grain carbohydrates and fiber. The hummus adds plant protein, fat, fiber, and minerals. Together, they're a practical snack. But this is where label reading matters. A package can say multi-grain without actually being primarily whole grain. Look at the ingredient list. You want whole wheat, whole rye, or another whole grain listed prominently. The fewer unnecessary ingredients, the better. This doesn't mean refined grains are inherently harmful. It means whole grains preserve components that refining removes. And those components include minerals. Traditional stone ground and whole grain bread traditions preserve these parts of grain because the entire grain was being used. Modern industrial processing made refined flour more common. So rather than fearing grains as a category, understand the difference between forms. Whole grain is not the same as refined grain. And if you enjoy crackers, choosing a genuinely whole grain version and pairing it with hummus can be a simple way to build a more nutrient-dense snack. Now we're almost at the end. But number 18 might be the one that surprises people most. Number 18, avocado cacao pudding, the dessert-style option. Take a ripe avocado, add unsweetened cacao powder, add a splash of milk, add a small amount of maple syrup, blend. What you get is a creamy pudding-like dessert with a surprisingly rich texture. The avocado contributes healthy fats, fiber, potassium, and magnesium. The cacao contributes magnesium and plant compounds. The small amount of maple syrup provides sweetness without requiring the amount of refined sugar found in many conventional pudding products. This snack works because it doesn't feel like a compromise. It tastes like dessert, and that's important. If every nutrient-dense food feels like punishment, it's difficult to sustain a food routine. But if you can find foods that are genuinely enjoyable, healthy eating becomes less about restriction and more about substitution. Instead of asking, "What can I eat?" you can ask, "What can I make that I actually enjoy?" For this pudding, blend everything until smooth. Then refrigerate for at least an hour. Serve it cold. Top it with raspberries. Add cacao nibs. Sprinkle pumpkin seeds over it. Or keep it completely plain. The texture becomes thicker as it chills. You can also use the same base as a dip for fruit. And because avocado has a mild flavor, the cacao tends to dominate. This can make the recipe especially useful for people who don't naturally reach for avocado. Children may also find it more approachable when it looks like chocolate pudding. The key is not to call it a replacement for medical treatment. It's simply a dessert-style snack with a more nutrient-dense ingredient profile. And that's a distinction worth keeping. Food can support nutritional adequacy. Food can provide minerals. Food can be part of a healthy dietary pattern. But no single snack should be expected to repair every health problem. Now let's move to number 19. Number 19, almond stuffed dates, the desert traveler snack. Dates have sustained communities across the Middle East and North Africa for thousands of years. They are naturally sweet, portable, and relatively shelf-stable. That combination made them valuable long before modern packaged snacks existed. Now take a date and add an almond. Suddenly, you combine the natural carbohydrates and minerals of the date with the magnesium, fat, and protein of the almond. The result is small, but surprisingly satisfying. To make it, slice a pitted date lengthwise. Open it gently. Insert a whole almond, or add a small spoonful of almond butter. Then close it. You can finish it with a pinch of sea salt. The salty-sweet combination is excellent. Medjool dates work particularly well because they're large and soft. But other varieties can work too. If you're using smaller dates, simply reduce the amount of filling. This snack also illustrates the importance of pairing. Dates by themselves are primarily a carbohydrate-rich food. Almonds add fat, protein, and minerals. The combination changes the overall eating experience. It becomes slower, more satisfying, and more nutrient-dense. Again, portion size matters. Dates are naturally sweet, so a few stuffed dates can be enough. This is particularly useful when you want a dessert-like snack without turning to a heavily processed product. You can also make a small batch in advance. Stuff 6 or 8 dates. Store them in a sealed container. Then they're ready whenever you want one. And now we've reached number 20. This is where everything we've been discussing comes together. Number 20. Magnesium Power Trail Mix. Every source combined. This is the snack I saved for last because it represents the central idea behind the entire video. No single food needs to do all the work. Instead, combine several nutrient-dense ingredients. For this trail mix, start with pumpkin seeds. Add almonds. Add cashews. Add peanuts. Then add cacao nibs. Finally, include a modest amount of dried fruit. Now you brought together nearly every major magnesium-containing snack category we've discussed. Seeds, nuts, cacao, dried fruit. Each ingredient contributes something different. Pumpkin seeds provide a concentrated magnesium source. Almonds bring magnesium, healthy fats, and protein. Cashews contribute magnesium and other minerals. Peanuts contribute protein, fat, and magnesium. Cacao nibs add magnesium and cacao compounds. Dried fruit provides natural sweetness and carbohydrates. This is exactly why trail mix has appeared in so many cultures as a practical travel food. You don't need refrigeration. You don't need cooking. You can carry it. You can portion it. And you can customize it. For a simple version, combine equal parts pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews, and peanuts. Add a smaller amount of cacao nibs. Then add dried fruit. You can use dried cranberries, apricots, raisins, dates, or another variety you enjoy. But keep the dried fruit portion modest. The nuts and seeds are the foundation. Once you mixed everything, divide it into small containers. That gives you a ready-made snack for the week. You can keep one in your kitchen, one in your bag, one at work. That way you're not making a decision from scratch every time hunger appears. And that is the biggest lesson from all 20 foods. Consistency beats complexity. You don't need 20 different snacks every day. You don't need to eat every food on this list. You can choose 2 or 3. Maybe pumpkin seeds. Maybe oatmeal with almond butter. Maybe Greek yogurt with almonds and cacao. Maybe roasted chickpeas. Maybe spinach and egg muffins. Maybe the trail mix. Choose the foods that fit your taste and your routine. Then keep them available. That's how a nutrition strategy becomes a habit. The magnesium food framework. Let's bring the entire list together. First, think about concentrated sources. Pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews, cacao. These foods can contribute meaningful amounts of magnesium in relatively small portions. Then think about seeds. Chia seeds can add magnesium, fiber, and plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. Pumpkin seeds can be eaten alone or incorporated into other snacks. Sesame seeds, especially in tahini, offer another way to include seeds in the diet. Next, think about leafy greens. Spinach is one of the clearest examples. You don't need to eat raw spinach by the handful. Put it into egg muffins. Add it to soups. Blend it into meals. Use it in wraps. The format can change while the ingredient stays the same. Then think about legumes. Black beans, chickpeas, edamame. These foods bring a combination of magnesium, fiber, and plant protein. And because they are versatile, they can be turned into dips, crunchy snacks, or savory bites. Next comes whole grains. Oats, whole grain bread, whole grain crackers. The key is preserving the parts of the grain that refining removes. Look for genuinely whole grain ingredients rather than relying only on marketing language. Then think about healthy fats. Avocado, almond butter, tahini. These ingredients don't just add flavor. They also make snacks more satisfying and provide other nutrients. And finally, think about combinations. This may be the most important lesson of all. Instead of looking for a single best magnesium food, combine foods. Pumpkin seeds plus cacao, banana plus almond butter, chia plus oats, avocado plus whole grain, black beans plus avocado, chickpeas plus pumpkin seeds, Greek yogurt plus almonds plus cacao, dates plus almonds, nuts plus seeds plus cacao. These combinations are practical because they create snacks that contain several complementary nutrients at the same time. And that is how traditional food patterns often worked. People weren't necessarily thinking in terms of milligrams. They were combining grains with legumes, seeds with fruit, nuts with dried fruit, greens with eggs, beans with avocado. Over time, nutrition science gives us ways to understand why those combinations can be valuable. But the food itself doesn't need to become complicated. What about magnesium supplements? This is worth addressing because whenever magnesium-rich foods come up, someone eventually asks whether food is enough. The answer depends on the individual. Food is an excellent way to obtain nutrients because it provides magnesium alongside protein, fiber, fats, vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds. But some people may have dietary restrictions, increased needs, absorption problems, or other circumstances that make supplementation appropriate. That is something to discuss with a qualified healthcare professional, especially if you have a medical condition or take medications. The important point is that supplements and food don't have to be treated as competing ideas. A supplement provides a concentrated dose. A food provides a broader nutritional package. For everyday eating, whole foods can be a strong foundation, and the 20 snacks we've covered give you many ways to build that foundation without making every meal feel like a nutrition project. How to actually use these 20 snacks. You don't need to make all 20. Start with 3. For example, keep roasted pumpkin seeds in the kitchen. Prepare oatmeal with almond butter and chia several evenings a week. Make a batch of spinach and egg muffins on the weekend. That's enough to create a pattern. Or choose a different combination. If you prefer sweet snacks, make dark chocolate pumpkin seed clusters. Prepare almond butter banana bites. Keep Greek yogurt, almonds, and cacao available. Make chia pudding. If you prefer savory foods, prepare edamame. Make black bean and avocado dip. Roast chickpeas with pumpkin seeds. Keep whole grain crackers and hummus nearby. The strategy is to work with your preferences, not against them, because a food you dislike is not going to become a sustainable habit simply because it contains magnesium. The best food is often the nutrient-dense food you will actually eat consistently. And visibility matters. Put the pumpkin seeds in a clear jar. Prepare the chia pudding in glass containers. Keep the almonds where you can see them. Put the roasted chickpeas in a convenient container. Store the egg muffins at eye level in the refrigerator. These tiny environmental changes can make a difference because they reduce the number of decisions you need to make. The bigger picture. Magnesium is important, but magnesium does not exist in isolation. Your body also needs protein, fiber, potassium, healthy fats, vitamins, other minerals, adequate hydration, enough energy, and a broader dietary pattern. That's why this list focuses on combinations rather than miracle foods. Pumpkin seeds are valuable, but pumpkin seeds plus oats provide a different nutritional profile. Spinach is valuable, but spinach plus eggs becomes a more complete snack. Chickpeas are valuable, but chickpeas plus pumpkin seeds add another concentrated mineral source. Dates are useful, but dates plus almonds combine carbohydrates with fat, protein, and minerals. This is the logic of food. Whole foods are packages. And when you combine several whole food packages, you can create snacks that are satisfying, practical, and nutritionally varied. There is also a historical lesson here. Many traditional food cultures relied on ingredients that were portable, affordable, and easy to store. Nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, dried fruit, greens. These foods survived because they worked within real life. People needed food that could travel, food that could be stored, food that could feed families, food that could be prepared without complicated equipment. Modern nutrition can sometimes make eating sound much more complicated than it needs to be. You don't necessarily need a shelf full of powders. Sometimes a foundation is still sitting in a jar of pumpkin seeds, a bag of oats, a container of almonds, a can of chickpeas, a bunch of spinach, a few avocados, some chia seeds, a bar of dark chocolate. And that brings us back to the original question. What if your snack itself could become part of your magnesium strategy? It can, not because one bite is going to transform your body instantly, but because repeated food choices determine what nutrients you consistently provide. One snack is a moment, a habit is a pattern, and patterns are what matter. Final takeaway. So if you want to start today, don't try to overhaul your entire diet. Pick 2 or 3 snacks from this list. If you want the simplest starting point, choose roasted pumpkin seeds. If you want something sweet, try almond butter banana bites. If you want something portable, make the cashew and apricot trail mix. If you want something savory, prepare edamame. If you want something filling, try oatmeal with almond butter and chia. If you want something crunchy, roast chickpeas with pumpkin seeds. If you want something dessert-like, make avocado cacao pudding. And if you want a combination that brings almost everything together, make the magnesium power trail mix. Keep those foods visible. Prepare them ahead of time. Portion them. And let the routine become normal. You don't need to make every snack perfect. You don't need to count every milligram. You don't need to throw away everything in your pantry. You simply need to start making more room for foods that naturally contain the nutrients your body uses every day. And magnesium is one of those nutrients. It supports normal nerve function. It contributes to normal muscle function. It participates in energy metabolism. It works alongside other nutrients in the body systems. And foods like pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews, chia seeds, spinach, beans, whole grains, avocado, cacao, and edamame can help contribute to your overall intake. If you made it all the way through all 20, you've now got a practical list of options you can rotate through without relying on one single recipe. And remember, you don't have to make everything at once. Start small. Pick 2 or 3. Keep them stocked. Make them easy to reach. Then let your food routine build naturally. If this video gave you a new way to think about magnesium-rich foods, leave a comment and tell me which one you're starting with. Are you team pumpkin seeds? Team dark chocolate? Team oatmeal? Team roasted chickpeas? Or are you going straight for the trail mix? And if you haven't already, subscribe to Healthy Rootz for more practical, food-focused nutrition content that connects everyday ingredients with the way the body actually works. Because sometimes improving your nutrition doesn't begin with adding something complicated. Sometimes it begins by looking at what's already in your kitchen and using it a little more intentionally. The right foods can become more than ingredients on a shelf. They can become building blocks in the daily foundation of your health.